Hello and welcome to the August 2023 meeting of Triangle Association of Freelancers. Our guest this evening is Alison Hill, a freelance journalist based in South Carolina, and she's going to talk with us today about artificial intelligence. Alison?
Hi, thank you, Don. Yes, hi there, how are you doing? I am not an expert on AI, but I have written about AI this year. In fact, in January, I pitched Writer's Digest magazine and suggested we do something on Chat GPT and how um, it would affect writers, or how well now how it is affecting writers. And I got that commission, and in the um, on nonfiction section, you probably can't see this probably, but in the July August edition this year, and the title of my piece, which should give it all away, is All Human All the Time, and I'll get to that in a minute. I also did a piece for WRAL. Me and some other people in the group are doing work for the Spotlight, online Spotlight pieces. And I did a piece that was a little different, interviewing a tech lawyer about some of the legalities, and how things are going to change going forward with copyright issues, and things of a legal nature. So these are they were two very different pieces, but I did send this out. I'm not sure if people have read it, but the title says it all. All human, all the time. And basically, I'll just read the first paragraph. And I'm going to look at my notes a lot through it. There's a lot to cover here. I mean, this thing has exploded because I'm talking about Chat GPT, right? A generative AI tool that has just exploded since it was launched in November 2022. So it hasn't even been a year. And it's just all over the place. Basically, and I sum it up in my first paragraph. To distinguish myself from robots, I've decided to label my work all human all the time. It will be my hallmark, a stamp of authenticity. And I'll go into what it means to be a writer, a human writer, right? Because we're getting into this territory right now. We don't know online. We don't know what's being written by Chat GPT. Um, and at this point, I think you can usually tell, but it's getting more and more sophisticated. And a lot of writers out there are just churning out stuff, you know, for clicks and views. So I'm going to go to my notes right now. So bear with me. I'm going to go through this in sections. I'll talk about some lawsuits that are happening. And some of the issues that are coming up um, right now as we speak. You're probably all familiar with ChatGPT by this stage of the game, but I'll just give a short overview. So ChatGPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. That's really hard to say in a Welsh accent. So generative pre-trained transformer, and it's a conversational AI chatbot developed by San Francisco startup OpenAI. Like I said, back in November 2022, they put it out there for everybody to play with, basically. So it's an informational tool, and it's designed to interact with humans as naturally as possible and conversationally, and so it has many capabilities. So you give it a prompt, and it'll give you an answer. Maybe you're just asking a question, or you need an explanation of a complex topic. But it can also write content, and this is where we get into interesting stuff for we writers. basically it can create content, complete articles like essays, social media posts, even poetry, and complete novels. Some people have written complete novels just with ChatGPT. So just after 2 months, in 2 months, it amassed 100 million users. So that's how many people. And now it's what month is it? August? Is it still August? Uh, it's August now. So you can just imagine how many millions, hundreds of millions of people are using this right now and what they're using it for. So millions, hundreds of millions people are utilizing what I'm calling these shiny new tools to create content. So, like we said, it can create poetry, essays, you name it. And it can also create there's different applications that can create art as well. I'll touch on that because there's been a lawsuit, or I think it's still ongoing, um, a company called Midjourney. So it can basically, you give it a prompt. Can you give me a picture, drawing, or photograph in the style of Andy Warhol, something like that. So so if we look at what's going on right now, some of the problems that OpenAI encountered, and what they were asking for feedback, right? In those initial launches. I think there's 3, 4, and there's a 5 coming up. Chat GPT 5. And a lot of users were claiming there were inaccuracies, there was bias. And I'll give you an example here. It's really funny. So Microsoft had to remove an article that advised tourists to visit the beautiful Ottawa Food Bank on an empty stomach. So if obviously that bit was written by AI and nobody checked. So it's also been reported that CNET was using AI to write articles, and over half of them had errors and had to be corrected. And so they've paused the use for now. So the question we've got to ask is, right, how much stuff online is human? I mean, who knew this time last year that we would be asking questions like this? So we're in uncharted territory. So it's going to be used more and more, and it's getting more and more sophisticated. So they're on the third one, like I said. And a lot of people are asking, a lot of people in the publishing industry, newspapers, online publications, you name it, are asking first. They're saying that we need some type of labeling of AI generated content to differentiate it from human created content. Um, and and another issue that has cropped up, and this is where some of the lawsuits come in, it's been trained on all this writing of books, um, articles, all this information. So it's basically scraped the internet. They trained this AI model. On by scraping the internet information on the internet. So that's where it's getting its information, right? So and I think I think they started from 2021 onwards, but don't quote me on that one. So it was trained on everybody's work. So here the copyright issues are coming up. I'll get to the lawsuits in just a minute. So basically, right now, the internet is being inundated with content, right? And I'm saying content, not writing, because people who are not necessarily writers per se can now churn out written content by the bucket load, literally in minutes, right? They can get a result in minutes. Write me a blog or a listicle about 10 best places to eat in Canada, including the food bank. So, and they're getting this result, they're getting the output. Um, and sorry, I'm getting a thing about software update here. Sorry. And so it's been estimated right now that in a few years, AI generated content could account for as much as 90% of information on the internet. So that's most of the internet. And as I said in my article, a lot of content creators, in my opinion, care little about the craft and the process of writing, which we all know about, right? It's just part of being a writer, isn't it? Going through the process and learning all different kind of skills. And so I don't think they care about the craft and the process and having, learning writing skills. They just want to get as much content. They care about the volume of monetized content, which kind of sums up a lot of the internet today. There's a lot of junk out there. And some of them don't even check, or rewrite it. At least rewrite it, right? If you get something written, at least rework it so it's sort of yours. Like I said, this has triggered numerous lawsuits. And other people, one author was basically unabashedly advertising himself on Amazon as an author, and he didn't write a word. All he did was write prompts for Chat GPT, and he was kind of bragging about it. But I haven't looked how he's doing. But I don't know about you, but I don't know if I want to read content created by essentially a machine. So this has triggered a lot of lawsuits. And here we go. Here are some of them. The New York Times is considering legal action against OpenAI over copyright issues that they're training their the AI on information and past articles. So there's something going on there. There's artists in California suing Midjourney and other AI generator apps. And from what I've been reading, it sounds to me like they're going to lose that battle because of the Fair Use Act. But there was good news for humans all the time, like me. You can, you might feel very differently than the way I do. And we can talk about that in just a little while. How long have I got here? Okay, I got 15 more minutes. So, so a judge upheld a finding from the U.S. Copyright Office, and this was recently, I think last week, that declared a piece of art created by artificial intelligence, is not open to copyright protection. Human authorship, they said, is a bedrock requirement when it comes to copyright protection. So that's what the ruling says. And here it was referring to a piece of art called A Recent Entrance to Parade, which was autonomously created by a computer algorithm running on a machine. The art was denied a copyright by the Copyright Office, which cited the need for the human element. The artist had sued in an attempt to obtain the copyright after he was rejected. So obviously this was about art, but the same issues are coming up with writing. And the dilemma here is this is unprecedented territory. This is what I was talking to the tech lawyer about, because if you create something, let's just say about let's just say an article, right? And you make and you've used chat GPT in any part of the process, and we'll talk about that in a minute too, who is using it and how they are using it. But here, who owns the finished product, right? If you just prompted, right, write a article on chat GPT or whatever, right, and you get the result, who owns it? Who owns that finished product? So, and this is interesting too. The Hollywood strike right now, Hollywood writers' strike, does involve the use of AI in script writing and in acting also. So there's a lot going on with this. It's hard to kind of focus on where you want to take this. And again, there were some artists that were trying to they filed a suit, sorry, against Stability Diffusion, Midjourney, and Dream Up. Basically, their claim was, and this is a claim that writers are making too, so this is why I'm mentioning it, that the AI art generators are trained on copyrighted materials without the consent of the content owners or credit or compensation. So they're not getting any annotation at all or any compensation for that. And in July of this year, comedian Sarah Silverman also sued Meta and OpenAI for copyright infringement, claiming that her work was used to train their chatbots without her consent. So those lawsuits also included authors Richard Kadri and Christopher Golden. So those are some of the issues. Oh, and also, since a lot of people are using it that weren't previously writers and know the process, spam has been coming to literary magazines. Clark's World, and the magazine of fantasy and science fiction, and Asimov Science Fiction. They've reported, or it's been reported that they've been flooded by submissions generated by AI chatbots. So, let's see. So here we go. How does it affect us, and why should we care, right? Well, we should care because we're professional writers. This is our profession. Writers, I was looking at something on Twitter or LinkedIn the other day. I'll read it to you. This was actually, you know what? Let's see. So a lot of authors, a lot of authors are claiming also Margaret Atwood, Stephen King, their copyrighted works have been, I'm quoting here from The Atlantic, illicitly used to educate AI systems. So there's all these legalities going on. But let's talk about what it means to be a writer. And I'll just quote this this post I saw. I think it was Twitter. I don't have his permission to obviously read this out, but he put it out there. And basically, I won't read it verbatim, but a client of his, told him that he didn't want to pay him to write content for his website anymore because AI can do it for free, and but he wanted to pay a fraction of the rate he usually got to rewrite it. So that's where we are. A lot of people are coming across things like this now. And of course, when it comes to journalism, then you got a whole other set of issues regarding bias, inaccuracies. I mean, you name it. Um, so yeah, so there was a good question in the comment section of something else too that I saw. Don't ask me what. I've been reading so many articles, but basically, you know, if a piece is accused of plagiarism, basically someone used chat GPT and they're being accused of plagiarism, which party is responsible? Is it the AI that wrote it or the publisher that published the story, or both? So there's all these questions. So let's go and just mention real quick, where am I? I've got a few minutes left. So I've spoken to a lot of people who actually do use Chat GPT, and we're still friends. Just kidding. But they use it in several different ways, and they're mostly copywriters. They're not nonfiction authors or freelance journalists, and freelance generalists, like a lot of us here, and novelists like us here in TAF. So it's a different, in my opinion, it's a different kettle of fish, right? Because copywriting has a different purpose than it's to sell things, right? And either buy it or not. So a lot of people are using AI in their copywriting work. One Facebook friend claims he used it to generate bullet points for a sales funnel, and the tech lawyer I was talking to, that I interviewed a few months ago, he said that if he was a copywriter, that he would definitely use it, because why not, right? It's easy and quick, and time is money. Some people. But he said, and I want to emphasize this, he said he would modify, obviously rewrite the outputs. He wouldn't just put it out there. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people are doing just that. I call it, I'll just read a couple of things that I wrote right here. So basically, let's talk about the craft and why we write, right? We're writers, and I don't know about you, but when I write with purpose, and that's why I don't enjoy. I've done a little bit of copywriting, and I don't enjoy it, and I don't enjoy content creation and the SEO writing and all that stuff. Although I know how to do it, I like to right from the heart. I know it sounds very, cliche, but I really do. Especially if I write fiction and nonfiction, but I have to, I have to be into it, right? And when I'm writing my column, for instance, for Writer's Digest, I have a vague idea of what I want to say, and I sit there and, I'll do some research, and then I sit there and go, and I, sit there and go, okay, I gotta do this, gotta do this. I'll wash the dishes, I'll clean the litter box even before I sit down and start to write. But when and I'll give you a really good quote that I use this if I can find it. But when I get that first paragraph down and it starts just, it's like, it starts flowing, and then I'm gone. You can't stop me. I'm unstoppable. And let me give you this quote. Hopefully I can find it. Oh yeah, here it is. New York Times bestselling author Rich Cohen said, writing a nonfiction story is like cracking a safe. It seems impossible at the beginning, but once you're in, right? I'm sure everybody um, can relate to that. And that's what I wanted to end here, is with the process. that we go through when we learn the craft and the skills that we develop over years and years. And we develop them through talking to other writers. I mean, just being in TAF. I've learned so much. I would never have written for Writer's Digest magazine if I hadn't joined TAF. And I will owe a lot to Don Vaughan. You need to learn from other writers, and you need to learn the whole process. A lot of people are telling me, well, I like it to I hate this word, ideate, but I like it to I use it to generate ideas. I use it to give me an outline. And in my opinion, right, if you're a professional writer and you can't come up with ideas, it's not that hard. I mean, you just sit, watch television, go online, go on Facebook. You've got like ideas popping out at you all the time. There's so much going on in the world. I mean, just go and sit in a cafe and over, and eavesdrop. There's ideas everywhere. I don't get that you want to get ideas from a machine. And now I'm getting emotional. So that's me being human, right? But anyway, that there's a process to go through, and there's a learning curve when you write. And I think it's precious, precious. It's precious. And you're going to if you just jump in as a young writer and you're using chat gpt for all these steps, right? Getting generating ideas, crafting ideas, then I don't do outlines myself, but a lot of people like to. But if you don't know, if you haven't learned how to do that, then you're never going to, right? And then you learn more. You learn by doing it over and over and over again, and then it becomes like playing a piano. Your fingers find the notes. That's writing. That's how we do it. And we've got to hold on. And that's just one thing. It's like, and again, because I can't remember my own writing here, I'm going to quote here and end on this. What's the time? Okay, it's almost. So, I'm just going to read this. Okay, it's going to be easier. Otherwise, I'll get all emotional. Basically, this is not just a job for some of us. It's also a passion, right? And writing isn't easy. That's why people want to use chat gpt to do it for them, right? It's not easy, right? That's why you have to learn. That's why you have to push yourself and persevere. That's a part of being a writer, any kind of creator, artist, creative endeavor. It's not always easy. Even the brilliant ones, they have days when they can't write a damn thing. So I'm just going to say here, as a journalist, I've been a journalist for 20 whatever years, over 25 right now. And I just find this very, very sad. It's like I want to write. How can a machine write about losing a baby? How can a machine write about what it's like, to drop your little toddler off in school for the first time? How does a machine? The machine doesn't know this. It hasn't lived. It doesn't have a human life, and so how it can only mimic our experiences. It has no experiences. It's a machine, right? And I think this is and here's the good news right here, right? I really do think this is an amazing opportunity for each and every one of us who wants to remain all human all the time to advertise that, because I think it's going to be so valuable. How did I put it? So it's real, right? You're genuine. AI cannot be genuine. It cannot. It has no experiences. It hasn't lived. And strong writing evokes visceral responses in the reader, and we draw on authentic, lived experience, and no robot can replicate that. Can't even start to replicate that. And I'll just end with this. you know, let's see. Um, so I'm just going to quote him. This is my own. I'm quoting myself. Um, we can uh, we can look at this from two angles: as a danger to our profession, or as an opportunity to distinguish ourselves and shine like golden glitter on a cowpat. There's a lot of crap out there right now, and if you're writing something genuine, then it's like gold. That's in my opinion. And I've been reading that a lot too. A lot of other writers and journalists are saying the same thing. And we'll see where it goes, but stay human.
Well, a couple of points on your topic, Allison. I read
Yep.
just a couple of days ago about it. I think it was a daily newspaper owned by Gannett, which also owns USA Today. And this paper had been using ChatGPT to write local sports stories. And they had to stop because they were inaccurate and they were also horribly written. So that little experiment was quickly shut down.
Yeah.
And when I started, well, not when I started, but very recently too, I got an email from my editor at Encyclopedia Britannica basically saying, absolutely no use of GPI in the creation of materials for us, which I thought was great. And I know the Writer's Digest feels the same way.
Yeah. Yes.
But for me as a nonfiction writer, my biggest point of research is interviewing subject matter experts
Yes.
to go
Actually, I
directly to the
forgot to
source.
mention that. Yes.
And so Chat GPI is worthless to me because it takes that away from me. It tries to go out and find the information from somebody else, but that's not what I want. You know what I mean? I know who I want to talk to, and I know the questions that I have for them, and I know the responses I need. And Chat
Exactly.
GPI can't replicate that
No,
for me.
absolutely.
You
You
know,
can't pick up the phone, can it, and
right,
call the source.
exactly. And
And it
another
can't go.
point too, because it scours the internet, how do you know and how does it know that the material it's essentially regurgitating for you is accurate and not misinformation?
Exactly,
So
exactly. And
I,
you can't follow the source either. It's really hard. Um,
exactly, it is. And
yeah,
so I mean, and I know that this thing is just going, it's growing and it's evolving and it's becoming better toward its goal, but I don't see a huge terrific benefit, at least for the kind of writing that I do.
yeah,
But
likewise,
yeah,
likewise. Like I
you
said,
know,
content writing, and copywriting it has a different purpose, right?
exactly.
From
Yeah,
what
it's
we're
not
doing.
news.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
information. But
Yeah, but
Sarah,
it's trying to sell a product
right,
usually.
exactly.
You know what I
So
mean? And
how you
people either
phrase
buy
it
it or
is
don't.
how, this isn't really that important. The turn of a phrase in a marketing article is inconsequential.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah,
I mean, it does influence people to buy something, but it doesn't
sure.
life as
Yeah.
right? Yeah, you're very good. I meant to talk about that, but time.
Sarah, do you
um,
have a question or a comment?
A little bit of both. Definitely as someone like me who's been in content marketing, um, there are so few clients, especially when I did Upwork, who were interested in quality writing. All they care about is beating the Google algorithm. That's all they care
yeah,
about. They don't care about quality at all. Um, and so my interest is, does ChatGPT, does it know how to defeat the algorithm in ways that we can't, as humans, can't keep up with? And, eventually I was just thinking, eventually ChatGPT is going to be scouring the internet and just regurgitating what other ChatGPT has already created. And at that point, how original is any of the work going to be?
yeah, exactly. I think there was something about what you mentioned. There's so many. I've got so many links here. It's kind of hard, but that is very important. And that was an article I read recently was talking about that very issue that that it's going to be learning off of if 90% is what they're predicting, right? If 90% of content online is AI generated, and it's not just Chat GPT. No, there's some more coming up. Then it's just going to be learning off of AI. Is going to be learning off of AI, and where does that take us? I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. Allison, do you see, aside from the minor points you made earlier, do you see any benefit of this technology for people like us, people in town?
No, absolutely not. Basically, we've come this far, right? How long have you been writing and doing
40,
this now?
46 years.
Yeah, so I think you come this far, Don. I don't think you need any help from an.
I don't even see a benefit as far as doing research. I wouldn't trust the
No,
material the
absolutely
way I
not.
don't trust
You know,
Wikipedia, you know?
so they're not gonna send a robot out to meet deep throat, are they? You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah,
you can't go and report firsthand, right? And use firsthand sources. It's impossible for a robot to do that.
yeah.
Um,
The
and so,
legalities are interesting and challenging, though. It's going to be real interesting to see how the legalities of all this shakes out at the
yeah,
end of the
because
day.
it's using information and words and sentences from thousands of writers. So
Yeah,
who gets the credit?
exactly.
You
Yeah,
know,
it's just a
so
ripoff. Sarah?
I have a totally different question. What is your take on Grammarly? Because I don't catch things like I used to, and sometimes, and I did get a prescription of Grammarly, but does that mean that it's not all human all the time if I use Grammarly to catch things for me?
no, I did touch on that in my article because it is right. It is AI, but it's checking spelling. It's not creating your piece.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I don't consider that. I mean, it's like
More of a,
if
it's more of an editing platform.
yeah.
Right, because, with some, I guess, because I did read your article and I wanted to make sure, like, if some publications want all your work to be completely yours, would Grammarly be a problem?
No, I don't think
Okay.
so. I
Okay.
don't think so. I
I
mean,
don't,
that's
to me, that's like a live version of going to Strunk and White.
yeah.
Yeah. What about pro writing aid? Because I use that mostly for check as well and getting ideas for how to rephrase things better. End up doing my own, but it gives me ideas.
I don't know. I'm not familiar with that one. I don't know. That's a good question. Um, but coming up with ideas, how would a publisher prove that that idea came up from I don't know.
Like if
That's
I'm having struggling with one sentence
yeah.
and it's
No, I don't think.
cliche, or I'm trying to get the adverbs out of there.
I mean, you're talking
For that.
about people basically just people all over the world now. It's not just in America, right? I mean, people all over the
Oh
world.
yeah.
This young content creators in places like um, all over, and they're seeing an opportunity to make money, and to churn content out as much as possible. They
I
they
think the thing that upsets me the most is the sheer laziness of it all. You know,
yeah.
all
Well,
of us here in this group, we paid our dues. We
I
worked
know.
hard for the success we've
Yeah.
achieved,
Yep.
and then to have a robot basically go ahead and decide it can do what we can do, or have these young writers who don't have the experience, don't have the writing education, go out there and pretend, and they're pretending they're writers.
Yeah.
It's lazy,
Yeah.
and it's not right.
And if
And
everybody calls themselves a writer, then the title is meaningless, isn't
Yeah,
it?
exactly.
what makes me
So
really nervous is for, the strike right now. All the writers out there, in Hollywood and other areas around the world where they depend on writers for, everything we watch,
yeah,
film, television, news shows, everything. They're it's part of the reason they're striking. They will not get any royalties if it's all AI.
Yeah, exactly. And that goes for the actors who might have their bodies scanned and then they could use
Yes.
the image for pretty much anything they want.
and the
Yeah.
So that's
voice
a
and
one-off
voices.
payment for the actor. That's
Yep.
ridiculous.
It's really
But
terrifying.
yeah,
It,
it
it
is.
how far is it going to go? That's the question, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I
Is
mean, when
is
you go
is
to
it
a
going to be?
doctor's
You guys
office,
remember Max Headroom?
yes.
Yes.
You remember Max? That's
Yes.
what we're plummeting towards Max Headroom. We
Yeah.
we really
Oh my God. And there's no nuance, is there? When you're on the phone and it's like press 1 for this, press 2 for this, and you've got a question that's kind of complicated, you can't
hmm
ask a robot a complicated
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
It's like if this scenario were to happen with insurance or so, you know what I mean? Whatever,
Yeah.
whatever you want. And it
Today-
My
reminds me.
Roomba is going to take my job away from me.
Yep. Today I was working on my reviews for Writer's Digest, and I was really tired because I've been reading 2 books a day since Sunday.
I remember those days. Oh my god.
And I just like, oh my God, my brain is mush. Maybe, let me just throw out there on the internet, how can I rewrite this sentence to just give the person an example of what I was talking about for better quality of writing. And like 6 of those AI things popped up. And I'm like, no, I don't want any of that.
Get
I
AI to
mentally-
read them, right?
Allison,
okay,
is it
I'll forget
free?
it.
Is Chat GPI or GPT or whatever the heck it is it free or do you have to pay for
It's
it?
free right now. Yeah.
A lot of
I'm
them.
I think
really
it's still-
surprised they haven't monetized it yet.
Oh,
Not
they
yet.
will.
They want to
Maya?
hook people in first.
Maya?
They want to
Um,
hook people in.
Technically, Don, the answer to your question is about ChatGPT being free or paid is yes and yes. There is a paid version of ChatGPT.
Oh, okay.
It's supposed to be like really souped up and you can do more stuff with it, but the average user, let's call them users, can get what they need from the free version of
Okay.
ChatGPT. I also wanted to just add some food for thought. As a copywriter and a freelance writer, I kind of view Chat GPT. I don't see it as like the enemy. I do have my concerns, many of which Allison and some others have mentioned here. And I always believe in, know your enemy, even if you do view it as the enemy. So I do think it's worth learning about. But actually, what ChatGPT has inspired me to do, and Allison did a great job of touching on it, it's changed the way I market my freelancing services now.
Okay.
And I haven't had to say it outright yet, but I do more or less say, if I'm talking to a client, I'm like, I talk to people, I write for people. If you're interested in actually talking to the people who you want to reach out to through your organization, like if it's a nonprofit, like if you're trying to reach a certain group of people, trying to reach a certain group of customers, I can help you with that. But if you're trying to talk to an algorithm, technically I can help you with that too, but you need to be talking to your people.
Yeah.
And I just leave it at that. And I was like, if you're like, hey, I'm not interested in that, I'm just trying to get content out here, then I'm not really your person for that. But if you want to actually talk to your people, then let's
Yeah.
talk.
Sometimes they're just looking for words on a page and they don't really care what those words say. There's
Right.
just literally content. It's just letters on a screen. So I guess the Chat GPT would be great for something like that.
Right. And I even thought about it, like, even with the content that I consume, I was like, yeah, you can't chat GPT that. I
Yeah.
was like, the reason I'm, reading the books I read, reading the blog posts that I read, and even like the YouTube videos, like it almost doesn't even matter the platform. The reason usually my number one reason for consuming a piece of content is because I connect with the person behind that content.
Yeah.
And I don't really see that going away because, like, of course, I do read smaller like blogs and, kind of indie authors, but there are also some pretty big platforms that I consume. And I'm like, well, if I'm reading a best-selling book, obviously I'm not the only one who's connecting with this person as a person. Or if I'm, watching the video content from a popular YouTube person, they're obviously here to connect with that person too. So
Yeah.
yeah. So
Well,
I mean, so there's a space. but you have to be, I do think you'll probably have to be more intentional about that. And I would say definitely keep an eye on, how Chat GPT evolves or devolves.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like my writing has never been for everybody, regardless of what technology has been out there. And Chat GPT doesn't necessarily change that. I'm still, like I said, I still write for people.
Yeah. As Allison says, be human all the time.
Be human.
Does anyone else have any other comments or questions for Allison? Sarah?
I was just reading an interesting article today in Psychology Today, and it's about authenticity and how we crave it now. And I think that ties in, Allison, to what you're saying about what we write as gold. I think the more literate we become about ChatGPT, we'll be able to have a filter and spot something that's AI versus human. And authenticity in this age is something that we are starting to crave more and more, because so many of our interactions online are inauthentic. So that whole authenticity piece, it was the lead story in Psychology Today. But I think it ties in nicely with your article and how, you know, people crave what's real. And I see that more and more. And I think that's where we come in, just being as real and authentic as we can be as writers.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
Allison, thank
Yep.
you so much.
Oh,
This
you're
was
welcome.
awesome. We really appreciate you joining us tonight
Well,
and
thank
sharing this
you.
information. It's an important topic, and something we definitely need to be aware of and keep an eye on. I appreciate you doing this for us.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any good news to share? Anything cool happening? Okay.
I've got something. I feel like I've been talking a lot. But I've gotten some more good feedback from the editors of Psychology Today on my piece about emotional recovery from psychosis.
Say that again. You broke up there for a second.
Oh,
Say that again.
I got really great feedback on one of my blog posts for Psychology Today. It was emotional recovery from psychosis, trusting and believing in yourself again, and they are highlighting it on 2 pages as essential reads. And so
Wow.
it's nice to get that feedback.
Oh, good.
And I had no idea that the editor I work with is actually the editor-in-chief of Psychology Today. And now I'm like, hopefully I said everything right in emails with her. But yeah, so that's exciting. And I also have a blog post coming up for TAF on disclosure and writing, and I'm excited about that one.
Oh, great.
That's great. Congratulations, Sarah. That's awesome news.
Really terrific.
Yeah. So let me remind everybody that Writer's Digest is open for pitches if you're interested. If you need Amy's contact email, just shoot an email out and I'll share it with everybody. It's a good opportunity to break into the magazine if there's something about writing that you're really good at, and that would be a good time for you to share that expertise and that experience. I got some good news from Britannica recently. The stuff that I did for them in the very, very beginning that I really enjoyed so much it is still being published. I didn't really know that. And my editor said, by all means, pitch. So I've got a ton of ideas for that. And I'm very excited about that. And I've been having some serious fun doing some of the stuff I've been doing. I just finished the article about National Lampoon. And coming up, I'm doing an article about the Mattel Toy Company. So that's going to be fun. So good stuff happening with that. Does anyone else have anything?
Oh, I wanted to add like a little side note if I could. As a younger author myself, or someone who's striving to be like an authentic author, I think it sucks that a lot of people have been using Chat GPT to kind of, I don't know, put like a sort of stain on like an up and coming author that is just new to the game, and I feel like it's an unfortunate, side effect of everything that's going on currently. But I just, there are those of us who put the time in, put their head down, and write to their heart's content from their heart. So I just wanted to add that little side note.
Thank you, Tommy. That's a valid
Of
point
course.
too. It really is. And I think all of us here will agree with that, that the best writing comes from the heart and the soul as well as the mind, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. So Allison, this has been great. You guys have been
Thank you.
awesome. Thank you again for everything. And you guys keep writing, and we've got some things coming up that I'm going to be announcing soon, just waiting for a few things to get finalized, including what I hope will be our final TAF talk of the year. So stick around and we'll have some announcements to make very shortly. But I hope all of you have a good evening. I hope the rain doesn't bother you, and we will get together again next month. Y'all have a good one.
Bye.
Thanks, Allison.
Take care.
Bye. Thank you for having me.